Everybody can see that, right? So we
Yes.
click to close the shape. Now, let us go into the layers palette. Oh, actually, you can do different things with the pen tool. And your setting may be different than mine. But with the pen tool selected, if you're going to be creating a shape with it, your option here in your option bar needs to be shape. All right. Otherwise, it'll create what is called a path. And shapes contain paths, but they are not paths. So we'll get into that a little bit later. So let me just do the same thing again, but this time creating a shape. All right. So we have a custom shape. All right. Now that is a shape with just straight lines. All right. Let me demonstrate how you would create a more rounded shape. So again, with the pen tool selected, and we ensure that we create a shape here, another path. Click to create the first point, right? Now, if I click, but I don't release the mouse button, and I drag, it allows me to pull out what they call handles, right? So those two white circles on the edges of those lines that you see in there are called handles. And handles will allow me to manipulate how the shape bends and curves. All right. Then I would simply continue creating my points, but click and drag every time I want to create a curved point. Now, what I'm doing and you're not seeing is I'm actually pressing the Alt key to stop the other handle from moving. If you notice, at any one time, well, before we get to handles, everybody see how I created that custom shape, right? Everybody understand that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Right. So pretty much in a nutshell, that is your homework. So custom shapes and the shapes that are built into Photoshop, create a scene for me. Go as detailed as you can, and we're gonna look at them in the next class. Okay. All right. Now, just to finish talk about the handles, what you are not seeing me doing is pressing the Alt key on the keyboard. So when you pull out the handles, notice they would come out. Two of them will actually come out, and one on the right, one on the left. So notice here we have one handle here and one handle here. Everybody see? So this is our anchor point here in the center, and we have one handle here and one handle here. Now, without pressing the Alt key, if you move one, the other one would move in the opposite direction. But if I press and hold the Alt key, right, I can move one and not the other, which will allow me to create some pretty interesting shapes if I can manipulate it properly. Yeah. So add that to your homework, play around with it. We're looking at the pen tool, right? That's the tool that you use to draw shapes. And let me know if you have any issues manipulating it in the next class, and we'll go over it. Okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. You guys want me to give you a few minutes to start to work on it? Or are you guys working on anything right now on your computers? Anybody working along with me as we're going along?
I partially working along.
Partially working along, okay. You have something we can see already, or you're not ready yet? You'll have it for the next class.
I'll have it ready for the next class instead.
Okay, all right, cool. Everybody's the same, I suppose.
Yes, I'll have mine ready for next class.
All right, okay. Any questions on any of that before we move on?
No, I'm good here.
Okay.
No, sir.
All right. Well, let's continue with the custom shapes and how we would manipulate it. All right. So with the pen tool, we can draw a shape, all right? Below that, we have two arrows, yeah? Two little arrow tools. One is the path selection tool and one is the direct selection tool. Let me know if you find it. Yeah?
Yes, sir.
Right. So the path selection tool would allow you to select a particular path, right? And in a minute, I'm gonna ask you what a path is. So start thinking about it, right? And once you select the path, it will allow you to see the anchors or the anchor points that make up that path, right? And the second tool is the direct selection tool, which will allow you to select not only the anchors on the path, right, and modify them. So you can select, let's say, this anchor, modify one anchor, another anchor, right? But it also allow you to modify your handles, right? As well as your path segments, right? So I can just click on any segment of the path and manipulate it with the direct selection tool, right? Everybody sees that? So in
Yes,
other words,
sir.
I can tweak my path to get almost exactly what I'm looking for if I play with it enough. If you get what I'm going. Everybody understand that?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. So that is your direct selection tool. Use that in your homework as well to help you creating your paths. Let's move on to something else. Everybody ready for something new?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Before we do, can anybody tell me what is a path? Let's have a little bit of a discussion now. Okay.
Mm.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, like a trail, the trail of your drawing or whatever you make.
Okay.
Something.
Okay. Does anybody have anything else? Anybody else want to tell me what a path is? No?
Yeah, a path, it can be a straight line or it can be curved depending on how you want it to be. So it's like how you is your manipulation basically of how you want it.
Okay. All right. A path is basically the line, the outer boundary, right, of a shape. Let's keep it simple. All right. Now, if I ask you guys, what is the difference between a vector artwork and a bitmap artwork? Can anybody answer me? Let me pull up the chat just in case I'm missing anything. Has anybody ever heard that term before? Bitmap and vector graphics or artwork?
Just seen
No.
it, but I don't know what they mean.
Excuse me?
I've just seen the words, but I don't know what they mean.
You've seen the words, but you don't know what they mean. Okay. Well, let me explain it to you. The person that was Kedisha, right? You use Illustrator. Yes? So the main difference between Photoshop and Illustrator is that Illustrator was designed to use, Illustrator is optimized to use vector artwork and to manipulate vector artwork. And Photoshop is optimized to deal with bitmap artwork. Let me explain what the difference is between these two things. A vector uses points and or what we call anchor points. That's the same points that you saw me creating, right? Anchor points, paths, handles, and mathematical equations to determine what a shape is going to look like or what an object is going to look like. Now, the advantage of a vector graphic is you can scale it up to any size, meaning you can create a vector graphic that is this small, scale it up to fit on a billboard, and you're not going to lose any quality, right? A bitmap graphic, on the other hand, bitmap is a graphic that has resolution, So in other words, it is created with pixels or dots of color. So rather than points and mathematical equations that determine, sorry, what noise, that determine what the object look like, you have dots of color, individual dots of different color that come together to create the image. All right.
Okay.
Everybody understand the difference between those two?
Yes.
Right. So a photo of yourself, a photo of you would be a bitmap image, but you can do a cartoon rendering of it, for instance, in vector. All right. Okay. So for the most part, we've covered how you would insert. Let's just switch back to the screen share. All right. How we insert a shape or create a shape to add to a document. I'm gonna close that document for now. And just so you know, do I have to run to how to save a document? Everybody knows how to save a Photoshop document, or should I run through it quickly with you guys?
Yeah, I know how to.
Yeah.
Everybody, let's go
Yeah.
through it. Let's go through it quickly, just so I can point out a few things. So I'm gonna save this document. All right. So click yes for save. All right, and I'm gonna put it on my desktop. I'm gonna save it as shapes. All right. Let's give it a capital S. All right. Now, where it says save as type, everybody knows what this is, right? That allows us to change the file type, meaning what the document is saved as. All right. The default Photoshop file type is PSD or Photoshop document. All right. So if you're gonna come back to work on your image, you want to keep all of the information intact, you want to keep your layers intact, you want to save it as a PSD or Photoshop document. So it'll be save as type Photoshop, right? Now there are a few other file types that also keep the Photoshop information, which is Photoshop PDFs and a few others like the PDD, PSDT and so on that save larger files. But for the most part, you will be saving your documents as PSD for you to continue working on them. And more than likely PDF if you're going to send it out to print, or JPEG or PNGs if you're going to be saving them to put on the web or to put up on your statuses or whatever you're going to be doing for your graphics. Okay. All right. And then you click save. So that is pretty much how you would save a document. Let's create a new document again. Sorry. And then, okay. Let's create a new document again. We're going to create the same size document, right? And I have that preset here already, but you can actually pull it up pretty easily. Notice that Photoshop has a number of presets for photos, print, art and illustration, web, mobile, film and video, right? Let's go for print and we go in letter. That is your default letter setup, which is what we went through. This time I'm going to select a landscape orientation. So it's going to be wider than it is tall. Everybody sees that? That is landscape, that is portrait. You can actually rotate it once you've created the document by going to image and rotate it. All right. Let's click create. All right. So now you can add shapes to your document. But what about photos, images? All right. How do you add an image to your document? Let me see if I can find an image. I don't have any images prepared for you today specifically, but I have a bunch of stuff on my computer. So let's see if I can find an image. Let's just take this guy right here. All right, everybody can see that image, right? Let's say I'm creating a flyer And just so we can be on the same page, I'm going to type flyer here so we know what it is. All right, so I'm trying to create a flyer here. This is my flyer document, right? And I have another document open here, this image, that I want to insert onto this document. How do I go about doing that? Can anybody tell me? Give me some suggestions.
By clipping and masking it.
Clipping and masking, that's how I would get it onto this new document here. I want to get it onto this document here. I want to take
get it
this
onto
image.
the well, you're dragging it, you're using the dragging tool and you're putting it.
You're using the what? Using the what tool? The move tool.
Yeah, the move tool, yeah.
All right. So everybody else pay attention. So we're using the move tool, which is the very first tool. We can click on the image, right? And drag up to the name of the other document and drag back down onto it and release. So it's a pretty big image. It was dropped at the size. Everybody sees that, right? That's one way to do it.
Yes.
That's one way to do it. That's actually that's the way that I normally do it. But there's a better way to do it, which gives you more control over what you do. And can anybody tell me another way, a better way? No? Anybody with any Photoshop experience and know a different way? All right. So if I want to put an image onto my document, right? I could let's just do that again. I could select the image, go to it, use the move tool and drag it, right? I could also just give you a quick example, use the marquee tool to select any portion of it, right? And go back to the move tool and drag just that portion of it, right? Scale it down again. Right, so there we have the whole image and there we have a portion of it. But the better way to do it, and the way that if you're going to be doing the ACA exams, they'll actually probably be expecting you to do it, would be to click File and to Place. Now, if you're using earlier versions of Photoshop, what you're going to see is just Place, not the option for Place Embedded and Place Linked, all right? But in Photoshop 2019 and above, you have the option to select what method you want to use to place the object. For now, let us click Place Embedded, and I'll explain the difference between the two in a minute, all right? Let's go Place Embedded. Next thing that will happen is it will give me a Place Embedded dialog box, and it will allow me to navigate through my computer to find the image that I want, and it will place it onto the document. Yeah. Now, I forgot to tell you that, but once you place it, you will have to click the little tick up there to confirm. And almost every action in Photoshop that makes a major change, like resizing a layer, for instance, right, will bring up this little confirm or cancel option in the option bar, and you will have to confirm before you can move forward. You guys should probably know that already, but just in case we missed it. All right, so this is the object that I placed embedded on my document. Let me delete the other two. All right, everybody got that?
Yes.
All right, now Place Linked would essentially be the very same concept, same procedure. You would go Place Linked, you would find the document, select it, and click Place. I want somebody though to tell me what is the difference between Place Embedded and Place Linked.
Placing and embedding should be basically you put it placing it and you putting it in one time, I would say, and placing it will just be putting it into place and not like clicking enter and for it to be set into it.
No, you will have to press enter either way for either one. So that's
Right,
incorrect. Anybody else want to try? What's the difference between place embedded and place linked? Nobody? You guys want me to give it to Oli for homework, or you want me to tell you, give you the answer right now?
You can give the answer now.
All right. So when you embed a file or an image into your file, what it is you take the individual pixels or the dots of color that make up that file, and you now make it part of your file. Yeah. So you take the file and you put it on you take the image, you put it on your file, and now your file has that image as part of it. Right? Everybody understand that? That's straightforward enough. The place
Yes,
linked,
yes.
the place linked is where it gets slightly tricky. So a linked image is not actually part of your file. It is referenced, your file references it in whatever location that it's saved in and displays it as part of the file, but it's not saved as part of your file. The pixels are not saved in your file. What is saved in the file is when you open this document, you should find an image in that location with that name, open it and place it in this square. Rather than here should be a green dot, a white dot, a black dot. Does that make sense to everybody?
So in
Yes.
other words, you are saying avoid using place linked, or can you give us an example where you would use one
An example where you would use place
one
or
the other?
one over the other. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Here is, so on my layers palette, all right? Let me just give you an example. You can see the embedded image. Notice the icon here and the linked image, right? They're both smart objects. Now with the linked one, actually we should be able to do it for both of them. But the linked one, what will happen is, first of all, because the pixels are not saved with your files, you would have a smaller file. And let's just say you creating a magazine, right? And your magazine has 100 different Photoshop files in it, of Photoshop documents or images. Let's just say advertisements, all right? And they're not complete as yet. If you have a linked file and you modify the linked file outside of your document, when you reopen the document, your document is going to reflect the changes that have taken place since the last time you put it in the document. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but without complicating things. Okay, so you using the same example of the magazine. So I can tell that you would use something like that if you're using images or other attachments that you have to make edits to later on. Could it be another Photoshop file, like another picture you make on Photoshop? And
Yes, exactly. Let me give you a practical example. Let me make it a bit more practical for you. I'm going to open that same document that we've been working with. The guy in the green. All right. Now, I'm going to place the embedded one again. I'll put it in the corner, just so that we know which is which. So the embedded one is going in the top right corner, right? And notice the icon in the layers palette is different than the linked one. I'm going to place the linked one. Place linked. Same image, right? Place. I have it twice, but I did select the same one. And we have, so top left, bottom right. All right. Now I'm going to go to the original document. And here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna change the color of the background. The easy way to do that, and that's probably a more advanced lesson, but I'll go to image, adjust, use saturation, and I want to make my greens. So let's just say I'll make my greens blue. Yeah. All right. So I just changed the color of his background. All right. I'm gonna save that document. Save and close it. So save, okay, and close it. Look at my flyer. That's not what it looked like when I put it in, when I imported it the first time when I placed it. It looked like this one. Why did it change to blue?
Okay, so understood.
You get it. Let's take it even a step further. I'm gonna reopen the same document, which is blue. I'm gonna change the color again. Image adjust, use saturation. Gonna change again, blues. Again, that's a really quick and nasty way of doing it. I'm gonna change it to, let's go yellow this time, right? Okay, I'm gonna save and close this one. Go back to my flyer once it's done that. And look at that, I haven't edited that document as yet. I haven't even touched that document. I've just been working with a file outside of that document, and look at what's happening. It's being updated in real time. Yeah, you see the advantage of a linked over an embedded, or it could be looked at as a disadvantage. So there are times when you might want to embed an image to keep the original pixels as it is. There are times you might want to link an image to allow it to change, to reflect changes that you may make outside of the document that it's currently placed on, but you want to be reflected there as well. Does that make sense? Or is it too complicated?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Makes sense.
It makes sense. All right. So you guys will have an idea when you would use a linked image over an embedded image, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. Let me just show you again some other things that you could do. Go back to the layers palette. Let's go to the embedded image. With the embedded image, I can actually replace contents. So go to the layers palette, right click on the layer, right? And I can replace contents. Now I have other options. I can relink, I can do different things, right? But replace will allow me to change. Let's select this one, right? And replace this image with a new image. Let's even do it differently. Let's find a completely different image. So replace contents. Let's take a similar but obviously different image and place. Yeah. So we don't have to do much to replace it, whether it's linked or embedded. We can do the same thing with the link, right? Actually, with the link, you could just modify the original image and have it update, right? But we could replace the contents of the link as well. Let's just throw something different in, right? And it will vary depending on the size of the object and so on. So let's just replace it with the similar size image. All right, everybody get the idea?
Yeah.
Okay, so today we've covered how you would add shapes to your document, how you would create custom shapes in your document, and how you would add linked and embedded images to your document, the benefits or the differences between linked and embedded images. Does anybody have any questions up to this point? Everybody clear?
I'm good.
Yeah. How many people? Okay. How many of you guys feel like you learned something today?
I have.
So
You wanna tell us? Just to recap, just everybody let me know one thing that you learned today that you didn't know before.
everything.
I'm gonna try
Everything.
Come on.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Anybody else? Anything specific?
But what I learned is I've learned the embedding, as you were saying, for embedding pictures and those things there, and the linking as well, the place linking.
Okay.
So that's something new I understand now.
Okay. Cool.
Understood a bit more about resolution.
Okay, you understood a bit more about resolution. We'll probably have a few more discussions about resolution as we go on, but like I said, we can keep resolution simple. And can you recap what is the important thing to remember about resolution?
When you, well, for me, it was what to use if you're using an image, or if you're doing design for the screen, or let's say a web page or so on, or if you're printing.
Okay, so what are the two main resolutions?
372.
300 for what? For what type of designs? For printing, and 72 for screen. All right. Anybody else want to tell me anything, Adeline?
The difference between illustration and Photoshop.
Okay, well, the difference in use, there are a number of other differences that we could come to, but again, we're just gonna focus on Photoshop. So yeah, Illustrator is mainly for vector graphics. You guys know what vector graphics is now? Yeah.
Yes.
We'll go over it, don't worry.
Yes. When we go over it, it will stick.
Excuse me? When we go over it,
When we
okay.
go over it, it will stick.
All right. I'll give you some example, but just keep in mind that your shapes are actually vectors, right? And your pictures are bitmaps. And to keep it simple, bitmaps are made of thousands of dots of different color coming together to create the image. And vector graphics are made with shapes and points that tell the image how it should be, and they just fill it with color. So it's not made up of individual dots. Yeah. So vector typically gives you crisper edges, while bitmap tends to show more detail. Yeah.
Okay.
Vector graphics are also known as resolution independent, meaning they don't really have resolution, right? Bitmap graphics are resolution dependent, meaning you need to set the resolution at 372 or something in between, or higher or lower, to get what you need. All right.
Yes.
Okay. Everybody remember what they have to do for me for homework?
Yes.
Right.
Create a scene.
Create a scene using shapes, all right? And then in the next class, which is Thursday, at the same time, we're gonna continue. We'll look at your scenes. We'll deal with any issues that you have with shapes, custom shapes, creating shapes. And then we will move into working with bitmap graphics, right? We will be looking at different selection tools, how you'd use them, when you'd use them, benefits, advantages, and disadvantages of each. And I'll give you some practice to do. All right?
Okay. How long is the course?
The course is,
Not the course, the class.
oh, you mean the in terms of the time?
Yeah.
The official time is 4:30 to 5:30. But if you could cater 4:30 to 6 o'clock, that would probably be closer to, that'd probably be better, because most times an hour is not really adequate, and we usually run over.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that fine with everybody?
Yes, that's okay.
Yes.
A question, will there be like tests and stuff to be graded?
There will not be tests to be graded. I will be giving you a few projects, the first of which you have to work on for me for the next class. But I'll be giving you a few projects to work on. I will be giving you feedback. In terms of the ACA exam itself, which is what you do in this course for, you're doing it to get certified as an Adobe Certified Associate, right? In Adobe Photoshop. The exam you will do at the end of the course, you'll actually be doing online. It's not an exam where I give it to you. It's an exam that you, whenever you're ready, as a matter of fact, if you feel like you're ready tomorrow, you just let BTC know, they schedule the exam and they'll do it for you. And they'll let you know